1968, America was burning. Martin Luther King Jr. and Senator Robert Kennedy had been assassinated. There was a turbulent presidential election highlighted by protests and riots in Chicago at the Democratic National Convention. Richard Nixon was elected president at the height of the Vietnam War. The Beatles, the Stones, Motown. The world has changed as we know it. At a Marriott hotel in Chicago, a new organization was founded, and those first members stated this as their goals: through association and organization to communicate with others, to improve business practices, to create a more efficient service to the profession and the public which we serve. This was the founding of the Radiology Business Management Association. The topics of our first annual meeting were associations and the antitrust laws, incorporation of a radiologic group, and defending against an IRS challenge, and healthcare under the Nixon administration. This is the beginning of the history of RBMA.
There were two large hospitals in Harrisburg, both with about 400 beds, very competitive. And the manager from the other hospital contacted me for lunch one day. I had to figure out who was going to pay, but after that decision was out of the way, he and I had a good thing, and he told me about RBMA, and he actually organized the first Pennsylvania group getting together, literally in a hotel room, and I don't mean a hotel room like here today, I mean with a bed in it, and there were about 12 managers in there. But again, the collegiality was there, so that's how we communicated to become members of RBMA.
I've been a member of RBMA since 1986.
I'll never forget this. This is my first conference in the early 1990s that I went, and I met so many gracious people that just welcomed me and became my mentors within an industry that we all basically spoke the same language.
The first meeting I went to was in Seattle. You know, back then you didn't fly all that much, and so I took off to Seattle by myself, didn't know anybody. I remember the president of the organization, a guy named Dick Bottleblett. He just took me under his wing for the meeting. It was made it very easy.
This year, the 50th anniversary of RBMA will be the 30th anniversary of my being with it, which is pretty amazing.
The only thing constant about medical billing in general is change.
We've seen the radiology practice manager evolve into sort of another beast, which is way beyond perhaps what people started out 20 or 30 years ago in the business as sort of being the guy who took care of the books and the business aspect of a small practice.
Practice management has evolved over the years. When I started off, like I say, over 30 years ago, it was viewed that practice managers managed the practice. They gained directional insight from their board, their physicians, but the managers truly managed the practice.
RBMA has become a much stronger voice for radiology in the country.
Healthcare, for better or for worse, is coming out of legislation. You need folks that are boots on the ground, that understand how any piece of legislation or regulation affects not only the physicians, but the patients and the process and the whole healthcare continuum.
I think it's ever so important that we stay in touch with those who are making decisions about healthcare and making sure they know our story and what our piece of healthcare is and why what we do is important to patient care and how reimbursement's important to make sure that we have enough people in these roles to take care of patients in the future.